All right, guys, happy Thursday. And I am sorry that I'm running 15 minutes late. I had to set the stream a little later because we're pulling in so many elements. I wasn't supposed to be investigating this. I don't even know how I got here. I see so many husbands in the chat going, I don't know how I got here. My wife has pulled me into this. Okay. We were not supposed to do an episode today, but this was just too explosive for us not to. Truly, what I can say is this would be a perfect ending to our Justin Baldoni investigation, because tomorrow we're beginning our Brigitte Macron series, and that investigation, there's so much that I have to bring forth to the public. But regarding this, I think we may have cracked the mystery, or at least we established a very crucial part of the puzzle, which I am told by Taylor Swift's team, or I guess not by her team, but like Taylor Swift's team tried to bury what I'm about to show you on the internet. We'll see if that's true. So I don't know what to say here other than grab your girlfriends, wear your florals, like Blake Lively said, and let's get started. All right, so here is what I think. I think that in the future, when we reflect on what happened, it is going to come to be known as the girl bosses who flew too close to the sun, okay? People say that. This is an example of that. Girl boss, I'm a girl boss. I can do whatever I want. Men ain't bleep, men are terrible, whatever. We can do whatever we want in this era. This is the story of the mad Queen Khaleesi, her dragons. And then I think that would mean that Justin Baldoni would be Jon Snow, right? I never wanted it. That really suits him. I'm sorry, Justin. He's like my cousin now. That's what I'm telling people. I've never met this guy or spoken to him, but he's like my cousin. I'm not going to let anybody punk him around. He's a kombucha sipping, kind, yoga, peace person. And I just don't like to see people like that be pushed around for no reason by narcissists like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and their cast of friends, okay? So what we have discovered here already is absolutely crazy. And what we've discovered over the last 24 hours is even crazier, because it even involves Joe Alwyn in a weird way, which I love. Okay, I love the fact that it involves Joe Alwyn, and I'm going to share with you why that is in a little bit. But first and foremost, I didn't get to it yesterday. There is so much. There are so many twists that I could go on for 3 hours. But we got to go back to the metadata first. Let's build up here, okay? Because it seems that there is proof that the New York Times began working on the article even earlier, potentially back in October of 2024. So we had broken the story maybe at the end of last week or on Monday that the techies that are emailing me, all guys, by the way, I love that. They're pulling up the metadata from the artwork picture of Justin Baldoni, which revealed that they at least began working on the article as early as December 18th, right? So we saw this. They're on the top, 12/18. You can see it. And we then received an email from someone who said to me, actually, Candace, I can show you via the metadata that they titled the article as early as December 10th. Now, again, I will show you our timeline in a bit, but she dropped that civil rights complaint with California days later, 10 days beyond that on December 20th. So that's a problem. And now we have learned that the messages between the PR agents were potentially embedded, and the text messages that were also embedded in that article were potentially embedded as early as October 31st, okay? So a woman on Twitter tagged me in this. She was like, I'm watching your stuff about looking at metadata. Then she did this whole video and she showed that nobody actually looked at the messages that were embedded into the article. And if you right click those photos, even though they are embedded, you can then hit inspect elements. You can do this yourself. Go click on the messages that are in the article, right click it, and then hit inspect element. And on the right, you will see this date pop up, right? So that says October 31st, 2024. Now, she said she's already sent this to Brian Friedman. It is obviously of tremendous interest. Now, there's a small chance, I would say, that the New York Times uses some weird generator and they decided to update it on that date. And that's what that code is showing. We've showed this to several people who would know. And they said, yeah, there's a small chance, but like this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good that they wrote these messages and created these files, and we're seeing that date. So I wanted to show you guys that right at the top. Okay, now about Taylor Swift. Let's walk back first and foremost. Why are we even speaking about her? Why did Taylor Swift even hit my radar? Well, like I told you yesterday and the day before, it was because just this entire story to me had her DNA and her fingerprints all over it. I just felt like they were all over the crime scene. It's Taylor Swift's style. It's the victim style. It's the, for those of you who don't know yet, when I release my book later this year on feminism, how she honestly is as wealthy as she is, because people who maybe don't understand business, she's incredibly media savvy. And I do not mean to insult you for a Taylor Swift fan. Genuinely, I loved her music, I would say, up until, what's that Pink album called? Lover. I loved Lover. I loved Lover. London Boy's on that. I don't have an issue with her music, and I think that her brand is clean and it's good that girls follow that brand. But in terms of how she is able to dominate the storylines over men and instantly been believed, I find that to be extremely problematic for a 35-year-old woman. And so I saw a pattern here emerging. And I would also like to mention here, because left and right, we're like, and we're going to be even more united after this episode, the Swifties have not attacked me for this series. To the contrary, they have been emailing me, which is stunning. And I'll tell you why it's stunning, because I think in the past, anytime there's a person in one of these storylines, you've got like a Kanye West or a Scooter Braun, and people are inclined to believe that these are bad men. And so forget the facts. I want to hear the emotion. But Justin Baldoni is indeed so much of a puppy. Like I said, you go through his Instagram and I'm like, you listen to the voicemail, you're like, Justin, just stand up for yourself. Just call her one mean name. That even the Swifties they're soft on Justin Baldoni. They're like, I can't kick this puppy. I'm sorry. Like, I'm with you, but like, we can't just go around kicking kittens, right? And so I found that to be really interesting. And by the way, I will say this also, that so many of you have emailed me off of 24 hours, over the last 24 hours, telling me that I had missed a major clue in the Taylor Swift saga. And I can't believe that I had missed this. Talk about her being involved. She cast someone in It Ends With Us. She cast, according to the actress herself, which is crazy, the young Lily Bloom character. So essentially the young Blake Lively in the film, the young Lily Bloom was played by an actress named Isabella Ferrer, who was one of the ones who, as soon as she dropped the complaint, was gang Blake Lively, F you Justin Baldoni, even though there was evidence she told Justin Baldoni how great he was and he was amazing, turned on him at the drop of a hat. Now, how do we know that Taylor Swift was behind her casting? Like I said, because Isabella said so on the red carpet at the premiere. So let's take a listen to Isabella Ferrer in her own words.
And did I hear that Taylor may have had some influence in getting
Yes, she did. Yeah, I know. I don't even know if I'm meant to be saying it, but I'm saying it. Yeah, she was a helpful part of the process of the audition, which I found out later after I got it, and that rocked my world. Yeah. I have no words.
Very sweet, and I think, by the way, that is what star power does, is that people, and this is what I've put Brandon Sklenar in the same category, they're so starstruck and amazed by Taylor Swift that they want to pursue that relationship no matter what. And so for them, they're looking at Blake Lively and her proximity to power, right? Proximity to power does sometimes delude, and I think in this case it has. And they're going, okay, if I got to pick between Justin Baldoni and picking Blake Lively, who's friends with Taylor Swift, oh my gosh. And like, Taylor Swift got me. If you're Isabella Ferrer, you're like, she got me this part. But I will say that provides new context, right? New context to Taylor's team claiming in that Daily Mail article that she feels used because she was surprised to see that the meeting with Justin wasn't over when she got to Blake's house. And I called BS on that right away. BS on that narrative right away. Because what do you mean you were surprised? You involved yourself and you said stuff, and it implies that you read the script. You couldn't have said that stuff unless you didn't read the script. So now we're learning that you allegedly read the script according to what you said to Justin Baldoni and what was confirmed to Blake via text message. And we're also learning that you had a hand in the casting of this movie. And we also covered yesterday via that Reddit post, which seems to be fact-checking true, that you potentially had a hand in firing composers from this movie. So you don't get to now back out and say, oh, well, I just feel used. Yeah, you obviously wanted to be used as a part of this process. And what's funny here is that we can now add this into our Taylor Swift timeline because, like, what was Taylor Swift doing? We put her around in April. She was in New York City, fresh off of the Era Tour. She had done the first Era Tour, which was in Arizona, and then she spent a lot of time in New York City getting photographed. She announced that her and Joe Alwyn had split, right? And now we can say when exactly she was in New York City, potentially reviewing the people that were trying out, which happened to be in April for this role, because Justin Baldoni posted the specific date that they were beginning the casting call for young Lily Bloom. He posted that onto his Instagram on March 21st, 2023. Here's what he said.
Hello, internet friends. I have some exciting news for you. We are launching a national open-wide casting search for the role of young Lily. Now, in our film, we follow two storylines. One is Lily as an adult, played by the amazing Blake Lively, and the other is young Lily in high school. If it weren't for all of you on social media, we would not be making It Ends With Us into a movie.
Gosh, I feel so bad for him. The amazing Blake Lively, who's just like plotting to ruin your entire existence. Like I said, way too nice. But point being, that's March 21st. And then on April 19th, he posted another video just essentially saying that the search for young Lily was over. So we know that between those times, Blake Lively was reviewing footage, attending the meetings, attending the castings, whatever it was. And she pushed to have Isabella Ferrer casted. Okay. Now, here's what's really funny, because Taylor Swift, like I said, at this time had just broken up with Joe Alwyn. That was announced on April 8th. So during the time of the casting, it was announced that she broke up with Joe Alwyn. And that usually for a woman signals that she is going to go through a sea change. So for Taylor Swift, this meant that she went from being totally private, totally not wanting to be photographed anywhere, because that's how Englishmen are. That's how my husband is. That's how Joe Alwyn was. They're not like Americans, okay? They don't love the publicity. They're quite private. But then suddenly she wanted to do like the hot girl's revenge. It happens. People do this. They get divorced. They break up. And it's like, now I'm hot, getting my body back in order. And she really wanted to be seen. She wanted to be caught by the paparazzi all over New York City, out with famous people. And because of that, because of her wanting to have this, if you want to call it revenge on Joe Alwyn, which is what I would call it. I remember reading the headlines and being like, okay, we get it. Like, you really want Joe Alwyn to know that you're good and you're hot and you're back with your hot friends. It allows us to now create a very solid timeline of her whereabouts. And her whereabouts do matter. And I'm going to show you why in a little bit, okay? So Taylor Swift wanted to be seen everywhere. Don't forget that the pinnacle of this was the staged mass unfollowing of Joe Alwyn that took place around this time. Okay, so we're going to bring up this timeline to show you this. On April 19th, she goes to dinner with Blake and Ryan. The next day, on April 20th, she does a girls' march, and she's with Blake, and she's with the three Hames sisters, and she's with Gigi Hadid. So we can show you that photo of all of them together. Oh yeah, look, like we're back, we're hot. Like she wants Joe Alwyn to see this. And then, of course, all of them mass unfollowed Joe Alwyn. I mean, all of them within 24 hours, including her brother and Ryan Reynolds, all mass unfollowed, which grabbed them even more headlines. Oh my gosh, look, the sisters' night out, and they're all unfollowing Joe Alwyn. What does this all mean? Okay, tons of headlines, tons of photos, just like Taylor Swift wanted. But here's the problem. You can't put the genie back into the lamp, okay? You can't do it. You can't say, I wanted publicity then, but now I want privacy now. I want privacy now because people are starting to look on the internet, and Candace is a psycho who's building timelines. You don't get to do that, which is why an email that I received last night caught my attention, okay? A woman emailed me and she said, Candace, I know this is really weird, but I so vividly remember all of these articles and images and videos of Taylor Swift hanging out with this New York Times reporter around this time. And she's like, and I can't find it anywhere. It's so weird. It's like her team has purged it from the internet. Like, are people powerful enough to get videos and photos removed on the internet? She's like, I'm a huge Swiftie. You know, I was in these forums. I remember seeing this, and I just can't remember who that reporter was. So I'm sitting up. I'm like, okay, very interesting. I will find this. I will find whoever it was, what New York Times reporter was Taylor Swift hanging out with, okay? And we were able to find it, which is very interesting, because I'm going to show you. You're going to see how many paparazzi are around, how many photographers are around taking pictures, videographers taking pictures of her with this particular journalist, okay? But it was indeed difficult to find this. We ended up finding it on a Russian search engine. Okay, this is completely crazy. Like, what do you mean? Where are these photos? Anyways, I am going to show you that footage, and I'm going to see whether or not you recognize the young man that is saying goodnight to Taylor Swift on November 8th, 2024. Now we're fast forwarding into the timeline. He's saying a sweet goodnight to Taylor Swift just a month before the now infamous Blake Lively filing. Take a look and a listen.
Wait, excuse us.
Taylor, sleep tight.
Taylor, sleep tight. I'm going to actually check the live chat and see if anybody recognizes that journalist. Let's see. Anybody recognize that journalist? Taylor, sleep tight. No, we do not have anybody who recognizes that journalist. So let me help you guys out. Ready? You will recall that I kept saying that someone like Blake Lively, this was my gut instinct, she could not have had the star power to get the New York Times to put their entire professional reputation on the line to smear someone like Justin Baldoni. They are just not in that camp of celebrities. They are not that high up of the celebrity food chain, okay? Blake Lively can get an article dropped in TMZ. Blake Lively can get an article dropped in The Guardian. Blake Lively cannot get Pulitzer Prize winning New York Times journalists to smear someone like Justin Baldoni. That was why I was drawn to Taylor Swift as a character. The person that you just saw saying good night to or sleep tight to Taylor Swift is none other than Ronan Farrow. And yes, someone just dropped it in the chat. People are recognizing that as Ronan Farrow. Now, why is that extremely significant? Okay, because he is the Pulitzer Prize winning Me Too journalist who is credited with having taken down Harvey Weinstein. He is, Ronan Farrow, without question, the father of the Me Too movement, the father of false allegations against men, also credited with taking down Matt Lauer. Matt Lauer, by the way, was innocent. I know that sounds crazy to you guys. I'm not even on the left. I'm telling you, it was insane. Men were losing everything overnight, and it was all because the New York Times wrote these explosive pieces, okay? The sighting of her with Ronan Farrow came as a surprise to her fans. That's why it generated so many headlines and people in fan forums discussing, when did the two of these people become friends? Okay, here's an example, the Daily Mail. Taylor Swift's surprising new friendship with liberal journalist Ronan Farrow revealed. And I'll read you some from that article. It says, Taylor Swift's unlikely friendship with Ronan Farrow is getting the spotlight after they were seen partying it up with famous pals in New York City this weekend. Taylor and Ronan, the son of Rosemary Baby star Mia Farrow and disgraced filmmaker Woody Allen, joined the likes of Faith Hill in a members-only Chez Margot club on Tuesday night. An eyewitness told Page Six that the billionaire singer, 34, is very close with the Nepo baby, 36, and that she greeted him warmly when he arrived at the club. Taylor and Ronan seemed to be very close friends. They got excited, they hugged, they kissed, and she grabbed his hand and went to the private room with others. Okay, so you're getting it. So the fans are going, I didn't know they were friends. Okay, they're very close. Whatever. Okay, he's also publicly tweeted, I should say, regarding his friendship with her, and at the root of their friendship seems to be the Me Too movement, as evidenced by his tweet. Here it is. Somebody asked him, are you a Swiftie? Please, it's for research purposes. And he wrote back, and this is in 2020, big time. I am framing the letter that she wrote me about Catch and Kill. So she wrote him a letter about his book about the Me Too movement. And it looks like this friendship was probably spawned since then in 2020. Okay. But again, Ronan Farrow, what does he have to do with Blake Lively? What does he have to do with Justin Baldoni? Okay. Well, he is he is arguably the most powerful journalist at the New York Times. You could say this. He's a Nepo baby. He's got deep connections to Hollywood. But the question here that you should be asking yourselves is, if Ronan Farrow was the father of the Me Too movement, who was the mother? Because he wasn't the only one credited with the launch of the movement. He wasn't the only journalist, Nepo baby, who won a Pulitzer Prize for launching it. Take a look at who did. Here they are. The reporters who exposed Harvey Weinstein. In their new book, She Said, the Pulitzer Prize-winning reporters Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey take readers inside the investigation that launched a movement. Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey were the mothers of the Me Too movement, okay? And that woman on the right, Megan Twohey, is indeed the woman who wrote the takedown piece regarding Justin Baldoni, okay? These three people, Ronan Farrow, Jodi Kantor, and Megan Twohey, were the people behind the entire movement that I have been spending so much of my time fighting for the last 5 years, because I am a mother of 3 sons and I believe in due process. And it terrifies me that people can make allegations. And what you should know about these individuals is what you're looking at is a hit squad. Okay. It's a hit squad. They take people down by telling partial truths. Now, I can't get into this with you guys today, okay, because you're going to be like, Candace, what on earth are you talking about? Because you have not read all the documents I have read. I have actually spent years looking into this case because I have been shocked by what I have discovered. But Harvey Weinstein was indeed intentionally taken down, and there were a lot of lies that were told about Harvey Weinstein. He's not an innocent man, okay? He slept with a ton of people. He abused his power. But there's a reason why they just reversed decision in his case in New York, okay? Because by every metric that I can see, Harvey Weinstein had a trial by the media and not a trial in the courtroom. And the evidence that came through that courtroom that never made it to the mainstream media astounds me. We will save that for a different day. Let's bump that to March, looking into the Harvey Weinstein case and the source of the Me Too movement. Like I said, Matt Lauer, he was having an affair. He was taken down by these people, and they're winning Pulitzer Prizes. When you peel and you look beneath the layers of this onion, you will recognize that those 3 people, like I said, are like a hit squad. They're Nepo babies. These people did not deserve Pulitzers. None of them deserve Pulitzers for what they did, okay? They came from old money, and they were given those positions, in my view, with instructions to go after certain people and to sink them. And it is telling that Megan Twohey, if you want to talk about bringing the left and the right together, was one of the people that pushed the Russian collusion hoax. It was a hoax at the end of the day. They had to own that it was absolutely a hoax. Now, if you're not a Trump supporter, you're going, what are you talking about? Weren't we colluding with Russia? We weren't. We were colluding with Russia no more than Justin Baldoni was colluding with his PR team to take down Blake Baldoni's hair products. There was no collusion. Like I said, these people are a hit squad, and I could name person after person after person who has lost their reputation, who has lost their company, who has lost their money because of this Nepo baby hit squad, okay? Look into their families, okay? They were handed Pulitzer Prizes not because of what they did, but because they wanted to give these individuals the status so that when they wrote these articles, they would be believed. I am telling you that those 3 individuals need to be extensively researched, and I am also telling you that I do not have the time to do it immediately, but there is something here. There is something here that Blake Lively and Taylor Swift and these people are hanging up leading up to this moment with Justin Baldoni. And then Megan Twohey goes all out, potentially having begun to write this article to figure out how to doctor things to make it look like Justin Baldoni is the slimiest, most awful individual. I mean, truly, they gave him that same yuck. You know, they gave him when you first read that piece, people were tweeting as if he was a rapist. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about, you're a man and you've done nothing like that as a woman. Just, I know, care if you're Taylor Swift, whatever it is. And you've done nothing other than purchased the rights to a book that you were passionate about because you spend your whole life groveling over women and truly believing that every woman is a victim and that every woman's story should be heard, only to find yourself fighting for your life and your reputation because someone's just trying to give you the rapist yuck. They never said the word rapist. This is sexual harassment. But when they wrote things in that lawsuit, like, you remember Blake Lively's wording, even an underage character, she said, about Isabella Ferrer, the young Lily Bloom, because calling her an underage character would make people think that she was a 16-year-old girl, when in fact, Isabella Ferrer is 24. She was playing an underage character. They went through so much effort to make people in their minds feel that Justin Baldoni was a rapist. And why did they do that? My suspicion is because they wanted to take over the movie and they wanted to take over the sequel, and they had the power to do it. And I think Taylor Swift, and again, we're speculating here, but she came out of a long relationship in which she wasn't hanging out with her friends every single day, and she needed something to do. And I think she wanted to feel powerful, potentially. I'll help you out. I'll do whatever. There is no reason. There's no way, by the way, you're going to tell me that this girl was potentially hiring people, firing people, reviewing the script, getting composers kicked out, showing up and looking with Bradley Cooper at cuts of the film. And you're going to tell me that she had nothing to do with this situation. I call BS. I call BS. I call time's up, to use one of their expressions, on this repeat, I have nothing to do with it, I'm just a little flower narrative. I truly believe that what happened to Justin Baldoni was an unbelievable act of evil, like an unspeakable act of evil that I hope unites us left and right, because he couldn't be further left. Like me and Justin Baldoni are never voting for the same president ever. Like we're never voting for the same congressman ever. But I hope we're on the same side of humanity in terms of understanding that this kind of stuff can't happen. And no matter how much you love Blake Lively, no matter how much you love Hollywood, no matter how many times you've gone to a Taylor Swift concert or you've bopped your head to her music, you should want to see true justice, okay? Now, there's a couple of other things that I want to mention here, and I haven't had time to get to it, and I really have to get to working on some other stuff today. But I wanted to mention also Liz Plank, okay? Liz Plank was the podcaster that worked with Justin Baldoni on the podcast. I don't even know for how long. I think it was for years. They had a podcast together. And then as soon as Blake Lively filed, she ended the podcast with him and just picked a side. That's very strange. That is very strange behavior coming from a woman, because you would think she would hear his side, okay? Her friendship has been established, not with Blake Lively, okay, but with Justin Baldoni. There's no way that some woman is going to file something against some of the guys in my control room, and without me even hearing his side, I'm going to be like, oh, I don't want to listen to anything. I'm with her. That's nuts. Okay. Something else had to have motivated that. I think there's a little investigating into that as well, because ironically, despite the very few people that Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively follow on Instagram, they follow Liz Plank. I mean, they were trying, in my view, to destroy every single piece of his life, every relationship that he had. They wanted him to suffer. It was cruel. I don't even understand it. It was cruel. It wasn't like, we just want your movie. We want your whole life. We want to put you in the hospital having panic attacks because we can. We got Taylor Swift on our side. That's why, because we can. And we got influence and we've got power, and we're threatening, as that Reddit post exposed yesterday, we're threatening with sexual assault, allegedly. And if you don't give us everything we want, and then we go back into our timeline and we realize that, right? Can you pull up the timeline, Skylar, showing September-ish time all the way up to the filing? In August. So you realize August 12th is when we had that anonymous Reddit post that lays out all the drama behind the scenes. We've just had the premiere. Suddenly we're seeing Blake Lively get all of this backlash. And we are hearing from that Reddit poster on August 12th that Blake Lively is making threats behind the scenes saying, if you don't do this, then I will file for sexual harassment. And Sony is giving her everything she wants. But I think that date in September is relevant, that in September thereafter, Ryan attempted to buy It Ends With Us. Ryan Reynolds said, okay, you're appeasing her, you're doing everything she wants, but guess what? We want the whole franchise. And it made a headline. He says, there's no price. I want the entire franchise. And guess what Justin Baldoni did? He said no. And I think that was when they hatched that plan, and they said, well, now we're doing with sexual harassment. Now, again, I'm speculating, but I've examined this timeline many times. Okay. I know their entire lives. I even know Era Tour dates. I know when Taylor Swift took 2 weeks from her Era Tour's break and was in New York City. I'm that into the timeline. And I am telling you that it seems that if he had just sold them those rights, we would not be here today. She wouldn't have filed that sexual harassment suit. That is my belief. She would not have filed it. But instead he said no. And so the last thing for them to do was to say, we're not playing around, and they executed on the sexual harassment that they had been threatening in the background, per the Reddit post. Another person, by the way, we were trying to locate who that composer could have been. that Taylor Swift allegedly got fired. And tons of you wrote us and said that it looked like it was Brian Tyler. It is indeed true that he had written music for It Ends With Us, and for whatever reason, that music never saw the light of day. And so he was fired alongside one other individual. And Nathan, I think his name is Nathan. It is Nathan. And apparently the reason was because Taylor Swift had a problem with him. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if this is just another dragon scenario in which she pretended Taylor Swift had a problem with him because she wanted, this is going back to Blake, the composer said Blake personally called him because she wanted to use Ryan's composer. Maybe they were getting a piece of the money that way. Maybe this was all being motivated by money. But I would like to look further into what Taylor Swift's issue was with that composer, if that is indeed the right composer, who it is very clear he follows Justin Baldoni. Baldoni follows him. Baldoni absolutely adores him. He has worked with him on past projects. If this was just another torture point of like the movie's hours, and so we're also going to take away your composer. Anyways, you guys, I want to definitely get into your comments. I also want to remind you guys that we launched our website yesterday. So if you are a mom watching this, a dad watching this, and you have been waiting for us to bring A Shot in the Dark back, it is there. If you're one of the people that has routinely watched my podcast outside of the coverage of this, then you know that we are always speaking about how we need to get together a book club. Go to CandaceOwens.com. The book club is beginning. The first book, obviously, is Chaos, regarding the Charles Manson murders, because it is not a fictional book. It is a real book about our government, the CIA, and how Hollywood, if you guys are into Hollywood true crime stories like this, you need to read Chaos and join our book club, because it's nuts. It's the scariest book I've ever read, because it's true life and it's our government and it's Hollywood. And we are really understanding how deep and how dark it all has been from the very beginning. By the way, that's another reason why I am really suspicious of these three journalists, because I read, which is another book that we're going to read this year, Hollywood Babylon. And when you learn about the founding of Hollywood and how it's always been interconnected, like the Hollywood lawyers and the actresses and the publications and the, murdering people literally a lot since it got started. And sometimes I think now in terms of journalism, you murder people figuratively. That's what I'm accusing these people of. These are hit pieces. These are not good people. They come from extraordinarily wealthy families, and they are not talented. They are connected. And so I find their relationships to be extremely suspect. Anyways, CandaceOwens.com to sign up for those things. And we will, we're just going to have a blast with the book club without question. All right. I want to see if you guys want to send me any more tips or what else you guys want me to look into in the story. I'm going to jump into your comments, but first I want to remind you about preborn, because there is great news. We have the abortion pill reversal treatment, which promotes women with a second opportunity to choose. It's bringing babies back to life, literally. So when you join forces with Preborn Ministries, you empower women to reverse the curse. What you might not be aware of is that even though Roe was overturned and abortion has been greatly restricted in many states, the abortion pill has superseded surgical abortions, accounting now for over 60% of all abortions. Preborn's network of clinics are on standby for women in their darkest hour. They meet them with God's love and free services to help them choose life through ultrasounds and the abortion pill reversal protocol. Preborn has rescued over 300,000 lives. So if you start this year and you wanted to start this year right, you could support life by donating to Preborn today. One ultrasound costs just $28, and $140 will help rescue 5 babies. To donate securely, you just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. Also, before we get into tax season, I know there's tons of people that are overwhelmed with back taxes or unfiled returns. Well, you can get ready, because since COVID relief ended, the IRS hired 20,000 new enforcement agents, proposing millions of pay up notices for 2025. So if you're worried about the IRS's collection tactics, Tax Network USA is there, so you do not have to face those guys alone. Tax Network USA is the nation's premier tax relief firm and has negotiated over $1 billion in tax relief for clients. Their services include penalty forgiveness, hardship programs where you might not even have to repay anything until your tax debt expires. And they also offer in-compromise solutions for lump sum settlements. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their experts are ready to assist you. Even if you're behind on taxes due to missing personal or business records, Tax Network USA can help you, and they can guide you through the process. If you're dealing with the IRS without a professional, you shouldn't be doing that. It is extremely risky. So protect your financial security with guidance from Tax Network USA. You can schedule a complimentary consultation by calling 1-800-958-1000 or visiting tnusa.com/Candace. So do not let the IRS win. Don't let their IRS's aggressive tactics control your life. Visit tnusa.com/Candace today. All right, guys, let me see if you have any more tidbits for me regarding this story in the comment section. You guys are saying, let's go. Mohammed says, call me a Brit because I am sipping this tea. Yes. And I'm telling you guys, look into those 3 journalists. Look into their families. This is not a coincidence. There is something very dark going on here. AJ Lind wrote, absolutely love you, Candace, the queen of sleuthing and investigation. Yeah, I do love a good investigation. I'm just, and I want to say this, by the way, this is not just me. I feel like we're like the investigation army. You know what I mean? It's like an army of women, and we just, I don't know, and men. Believed because we actually care about these things principally, and it's not because we have A-list friends that are trying to take people down. It's because we we're being guided by basic morality. So that's been amazing. Angie writes, thank you, Candace, for your amazing insights. I am addicted to your Blake Lively and Brigitte Macron investigations. No one does it like you, and looking gorgeous and classy. Love from Spain. Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. And you guys, if you are enjoying this, wait until you see the Brigitte Macron thing. I mean, you must know something's crazy, right? Like, it's not every day that a president of France sends a threatening letter and tells you, don't tell anybody. Like, he did this. A sitting president of a G7 country sends me a legal letter and says, shh, don't tell anybody. Like, okay. Clearly, I don't know if he doesn't speak any English, if he doesn't know who Candace Owens is, or if he's never been to America. Americans, we don't really shut up in general. That's not our thing, okay? We have a totally different culture compared to the Europeans. And me, I will be completely damned if like some French perv is going to tell me to be quiet about the relationship between him and his husband, you know? And so I am very excited to premiere that, and it is going to bring in so many other pieces. But again, guys, it's tale as old as time. It is tale as old as time. The media is a lying, corrupt entity that has truly been controlled by a very small group of people who just take people down when they try to tell the truth. That's the reality of it. And so I'm just so happy that we've gotten over that hump and that none of us believe them anymore. And I do think that this is kind of part of the reason why the left and the right are teaming up. Like, we're just randomly teaming up on stuff because we're both realizing that on both sides of the coin, our people are being taken down with lies, and we have to then invest ourselves in not believing those lies and recognizing that the evil is in fact the media entity. Okay, Peggy says, Blake Lively supported Woody Allen. I did know that. In an interview for Cafe Society, Lively commented on the amazing experience that she had on set with Allen and how he is empowering 2 women, and Ronan Farrow is his son. Yep, I am aware. We covered that actually, I think on the first episode that we did regarding Blake Lively, like her even saying #BelieveWomen, her lawyers trying to use that. I would shred her in court. I would literally shred her in court. I would have Ronan Farrow's sister sitting there. I would have Dylan Farrow in there being like, how did you feel when Blake Lively worked with Woody Allen after your allegations against him? I mean, this trial has to happen. I have to be there. I need to be there. Justin Baldoni, if you're ever watching this, you are my cousin. I'm coming, okay? Save me a seat in the front row. Crippy Sue Creates writes, loving our comeback queens, Candace and Brett. Yes, Brett Cooper. I was in the chat. She's back on YouTube. It was amazing to watch her first show. It was amazing. She's just doing amazingly. She's doing Fox News. I love her. She recently found out that she's going to have to rebuild her Facebook and TikTok. So if you guys are Brett Cooper stans like I am, just go show her love. The future is independent, and she is just a bright star in the Gen Z movement who is classy and positive and great. Emilio Andres writes, as a flight attendant for AA, please keep your thoughts and prayers for the crew and victims' families. Yes, you guys saw yesterday, terrible collision. I can't even imagine how this happened. It's ridiculous. A Black Hawk helicopter hitting an American Airlines flight over the Potomac River, and it is absolutely terrible, appalling. I had heard last that there were potentially 4 survivors. I don't know if that's true, but everyone should be praying for the victims and their families. Alaska Dog Lady writes, newsflash, pregnant Tennessee mom takes down world leader and pop superstar in 1 week. That is my show. I think that is my show. It doesn't matter who it is. I just don't like people that lie. I just want to, can we just all play fair? Okay. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like this person. Like, just stop lying on people. Okay. Don't lie on Justin Baldoni because you want his company. I don't like that. That's what it's looking like. And yeah, I think now we have enough internet sleuths that we are definitively going to get to the bottom of what you did there. Okay. That's just how I feel. All right, guys, those are more angles for you to pursue. I'm trying to think if there's any more information. If someone could get me in touch with that composer, that would be great. Maybe send this to Brian Tyler. I'd love to know what the reason is that Taylor Swift allegedly hates him. If there's any truth or veracity to that, or if we're looking at the wrong composer, that would be great. Email me. Tomorrow, we're dedicated to the introduction of the Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte series. Do not miss it. I'm telling you, it is 20 times better than what we are even speaking about right now with Blake Lively. It's nuts, okay? It's like all of France knows that that's a man in a wig, and they're just gonna gaslight the public with the media, which is, this isn't even about like what your stance is on transgenderism. It's just what your stance is on whether or not you should be able to lie about who you are and run a country. I guess that's kind of what this is about. And also about whether or not you think it's appropriate for a 40-year-old alleged woman to have the hots for a 14-year-old boy. You know, like it's so much bigger than that. It's just stuff that we can agree on in the middle. And I'm telling you, there's plenty there. And what France has been going through is nuts. So guys, please, if you're watching this, go to CandaceOwens.com. We worked so hard on this. Thank you to my husband. I love you so much for all the work that you put into this. To my team, I don't like you guys that much, but you worked really hard on this. You guys are okay. Skylar, Mark, Chris. Savannah's great. We'll be at the courthouse. Me and Savannah, we're going to be there. Justin Baldoni, we love you. You're our family now. See you tomorrow.